Welcome back to the Skift Travel Podcast. I'm Skift's editor-in-chief, Sarah Kopit, joined as always by Skift's head of research, Seth Orko. Hey Seth, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Sarah?
I'm excellent because today we are going to be talking about all things Bollywood and India as Skift gets ready for our forum in Delhi next week. And to help us with that, we are thrilled to have Raj Rishi Singh, Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Business Officer at Make My Trip, here with us on the pod. Hey Rishi, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Seth. Great to be here. And I mean, the topic is so interesting that, I'm sure this is going to be a great chat.
Absolutely. But first, a quick reminder. If you like the pod, if you're here listening, don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. And if you enjoy the show, please rate us 5 stars or leave us a positive review so we can spread the word about the Skift Travel Podcast. So, Rishi, what does Bollywood mean for your business and the business of travel generally in India? How big of a deal is it?
Sarah, Indians are passionate about three things. They're passionate about cricket, they're passionate about their movies, and they're passionate about food. And yeah, so Bollywood has a huge influence, or I would say movies has a huge influence on every Indian's life. I think our first social outing is with our families going to a movie hall to watch a film, to catch the latest Bollywood film of that time. Uh, so we remain heavily influenced, and hence, and now the influencing economy has become so big. I mean, because of social media, there's so many micro influencers that are there, and people do follow them. But still, in India, Bollywood or Bollywood stars and Bollywood movies are the number one influencing channel. And also, I don't know whether you guys have seen a Bollywood movie. Have you? I mean, have you seen a Bollywood movie by any chance?
Yes. And yes, and I'm going to tell you a story about it because it's so funny that you just mentioned cricket too. But carry on and then you can indulge me to tell my story.
Yeah. So Bollywood movies are musicals. I mean, there's music, there's dance, there's action, and most of the songs and music is shot in very exotic locations. So if you're seeing a romantic movie, the song will be shot in Switzerland, and that's where our first inspiration towards travel comes from. That you want to do the same thing uh, in that same location. So it's always been intertwined with our culture, with our social life, the way we want to see our aspirations, and travel. So extremely important for my business.
It was about 15 years ago. My husband works in the movie business.
Oh,
And
wow.
we went to the Toronto Film Festival in Canada. And if you've ever been to a film festival, the way it works is there are movies playing all the time, like from 8 in the morning till, 11 at night. And you just kind of try to get tickets for whatever. Like you see, basically it's like get up, have breakfast, go to a movie, have lunch, go to a movie, have dinner, go to a movie. That is the way that you do it. And so we had we got tickets to a movie. We were unfamiliar with the movie at all. It was like at 11 in the morning. So we get in the elevator to go to the film, and just like the most beautiful woman dressed head to toe in traditional Indian clothes walks into the elevator with us. And I mean, we knew that we were going to the same movie. So we said to her, "Oh, we're going." We didn't know who she was, because we didn't know, but we said, "Oh, we're going to your movie, we think." And she's like, "Which one?" And it was, I'm going to say it not in English, Dil Bale Hadipa. I think it means I left my heart in Hadipa or something like that. And she's like, "Oh, really? Oh my gosh. I didn't know if anybody here would actually come. It's 11 o'clock." So we get to the theater, which wasn't just a theater. It was like, maybe like an auditorium that it was like at Lincoln Center, like multiple tiers, like where it might have been like the Opera House or something in Toronto. Absolutely packed, thousands of people. And they start the movie, the director comes on, and who walks out on stage but the same woman that we rode down the elevator with. She was the star of the movie, and her name is Rani Mukherjee.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and she was amazing in it. But it's about, she plays a boy to play on a cricket team. Like
Yeah, yeah, yes.
that's what the movie is about.
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody was just up and singing and dancing. Everybody in the audience knew the words to the song. I mean, I was just like, this is incredible. Like it was incredible. And I totally like from that one experience, like I feel like I got like a good taste of like just how powerful Bollywood is to, I mean, because most of the people that were there, I assume they're locals in Toronto. Like that's who was at that.
Yeah,
That's who came to that movie. It was the Indian community living in Toronto, and so it was an absolutely amazing experience. The movie was good too.
yeah. Rani's a big star in India, or used to be a big star in India.
Yeah.
And and Sarah, obviously Toronto has a lot of Indians, so
Hmm.
must be a big draw.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was so much fun.
Rishi, do you have a favorite Bollywood movie? Like a favorite star, favorite movie?
Um, Set the favorite star. I'll have to say Ranveer and Alia. And they're also a brand ambassadors. So yeah, they're big. I love them. Can act really well. Uh, there isn't one favorite movie. Again, like I'm a movie buff, but if I have to call out one, there's a movie called Dil Chahta Hai. It's about three young people growing together and then maturing and how their friendship matures over time. Has a lovely travel sequence as well.
Oh yeah. I have to say, I haven't seen a lot of Bollywood. I took a film class in college and we watched one and I loved it. And there's a common theme here with Dil, I guess heart, right? That means from the
Yeah,
heart.
Dil
Yeah.
Dhad.
But
Yeah.
there's a older movie called Dil Se with Shah
Oh
Rukh
yeah,
Khan,
Shah Rukh
and
Khan.
there's also a wonderful train sequence where
Yeah,
he
yeah,
books a train
absolutely.
ticket and rides on the top and gets a little
And
dance
and
in.
and sings and dances on the train top as well.
Yeah,
That song should actually come with a disclaimer because a lot of people try and do it as well.
yeah.
Not a very safe thing to do.
Well, that's a good segue then, because that's something that people are actually a trip that people are actually trying to take based on a Hollywood movie. Let's segue. Let's talk a little bit about the business of travel. So, I mean, I just want to start at a high level, right? Like India's travel market has had a significant transformation over the past decade. There's been a huge burst of connectivity. There's now cheaper internet cell phone plans, more data plans for the Indian market. Many more people are online. How has the Indian travel market evolved, and what does Make My Trips role in bringing Indian travelers online?
Sure. Um, Seth, first, like the travel category has been an amazing category in the last 3 odd years, and continue. We continue. I mean, growing at around 14% year on year. Obviously, like post COVID, we saw a huge spike, but then growth continues now at around 14-15%, and we expect this growth to continue. I mean, for another 4 or 5 years, uh, I mean, 14-15% will be bare minimum. The large drivers for this trend, I would say, are actually four. The number one is that the rising affluence in India. Uh, there are roughly 40 million Indian households who earn more than $10,000. So these households have the income to spend on discretionary categories like travel. So I think that's the single largest driver. The other thing is the improving infrastructure in India. I mean, new airports coming up, flight capacity getting added, are like I'm just curious, Seth and Sarah, have you ever been to India?
I have.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we
Yeah.
both have
Okay.
been.
And how
Yeah.
long back was that? I mean, did you come recently?
I was there last year for our
Okay.
wonderful Skift India forum. It was my first
Okay.
time in the country. I went to Mumbai and I did the Golden Triangle. Basically, I did
Oh,
Mumbai and
wow.
Delhi, and not the full Golden Triangle. I'll take that back. But Mumbai and Delhi and the Taj. I guess I didn't make it to a couple other points in the Golden Triangle, but I did
Sure.
some of the big three. My own triangle, I guess, not golden, but a different medal.
Yeah, and I went to a wedding in Goa. So, but
Oh,
we
wow.
flew in. This was like 12 years ago. So we flew into Delhi. We did the Golden Triangle, went to Jaipur, went to the Taj, and then we flew down to Goa for the wedding. So
Oh,
it was
wow.
incredible. Yeah, it was amazing. It was beautiful.
Okay. So, Sarah, for more for you, I mean, like you've been to India 12 years back, and if you come
Yeah.
now, you'll actually see a like. I'm sure some parts of India would be unrecognizable. So the second large driver for travel has been the the amazing build on infrastructure that we've seen on airports, the quality of our highways, connectivity within towns. So it's gone up like it's improved a lot and keeps on improving. So that's number two. The number three is I think that Indians are like culturally we are a country of dreamers. Uh, and now with affordability, we are suddenly positioned to kind of fulfill our dreams as well. And social media is big in India. In fact, for Instagram, maybe we are the second largest economy in the world. So Indians like to live their life socially, like to kind of show what they're doing. So we generally inspire to be socially relevant, and travel somehow makes travel is a very strong social currency. So that and finally, technology is enabling us to discover things more seamlessly. So it's a function of these four things: affluence, aspiration, technology, and infrastructure. That's kind of making travel boom in India. In fact, I was like at ITB, I was in a Google session where Google showed that in as a number of people going outbound, India suddenly become the fifth largest market, and we were not in the top 10 like some years back. Uh, so, so yeah, travel as a category is very exciting, growing quite well, and will continue to grow.
It's in pop culture. You talked about Bollywood being, or so the social currency of India. We've seen a lot of places lately. Like this is a thing that probably has always been happening, but now it's kind of hyper charged. Like with Emily in Paris for France, with the White Lotus for wherever the White Lotus is,
Yeah.
whichever season. And now, like with Bollywood, Bollywood has absolutely the potential, or it has already done that. Peden, our Asia editor, just wrote a feature about how Bollywood is one of the strongest currencies in India. And so I'm curious, at Make My Trip, how do you all kind of take these, this social or influencer, these places around India that are that kind of come up in pop culture and integrate it into some of these trips, and how you're marketing?
So first of all, our marketing is very intertwined with Bollywood.
Yeah.
Like I told you, India's two largest Bollywood stars, which is Ranveer Singh and Alia Bhatt, they've been our brand ambassadors for 7 years now. So most of our product marketing, most of our brand messaging is done via these two mega stars in India. And people now kind of see make Ranbir and Alia as the face of Make My Trip. Uh,
Mm.
in fact, to the extent that if they're in a movie together, people start, and if that movie is showing a promo, the first thought in consumers' mind is that this must be a Make My Trip promo. So that's how strong our association with these two stars and Bollywood is. But interestingly, what we also do is we keep on looking at opportunities. So supposing there's been a recent blockbuster in India which starred Ranbir and Alia, and it had Kashmir. Kashmir is the famous hill station in India. So they had a sequence shot in Srinagar, which is the capital of Kashmir. What we did was that we built packages around that the same package or the same itinerary is now available at Make My Trip, and consumers can book it and we'll facilitate. So that's one way of marketing that make those destinations available, curate them for our consumers. The third thing we do is we do a lot of in-film integration as well. So if there's a movie on travel, we try and integrate Make My Trip into that film and then kind of bring that destination on our app as well, so that the consumers see the movie and they know if they are very curious to visit that place or discover that place, they can do it on our app.
Yeah.
So they
Can I?
so that yeah, yes, sorry.
No, no, no. You don't apologize, please. You're the one we want to
Hmm.
hear from. But
Huh.
I was just curious. Just a follow up that pops into my head is like, does the director get to pick the location? Does like the Bollywood director be like, by the way, we're shooting in Kashmir, and you're like, you got to scramble to figure out the Kashmir package, or do you ever get the chance to be like, it'd be really fun to set a scene with Ranveer in Sri Lanka, and we just happen to have a great package. Like how does that work with your relationship with some of those studios and
Yeah.
actors?
Um, it's mostly the other way. I'm telling you that Indian movie producers are great destination hunters. I mean, So yeah, they're really
You
ahead
trust
of the
them.
curve. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and they're ahead of the curve. I mean, okay, the most famous country in India, like not now, but maybe 10, 15 years back, was Switzerland. And the reason why Switzerland was very famous that there was an iconic director called Yashraj Chopra. In his movies, he started showing multiple destinations of Switzerland. And Switzerland wasn't like common then in India. But because the movie was shot there, it started becoming in every Indian's, and his movies used to be mega hits. So it just became in every Indian couple's dream to have their honeymoon in Switzerland. So I think,
That's what Pete chose to start out her feature with. She's like, picture it, the Swiss, and that was news to me. That like as a American, it was kind of a bit of a head scratcher when I first read it. Switzerland, okay, but now I understand.
so similarly, I mean, a lot of these destinations were popularized by films and not the reverse. And and yeah, we do partner with them. We do see what's happening, what's the kind of location that'll become that 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 will become nice when you see it. And we do the next leg of popularizing it, bringing it to for Indians to actually kind of uh go to the destination or book it.
So I'm curious, Make My Trip started out focused on inbound travelers visiting India, but today you're more kind of a domestic player. Does Bollywood have the same impact in attracting US or European travelers? And what do they want? Is this like live tourism, like where they're going to go see concerts or sporting events, or for religious tourism? Like what are they looking for?
So there are around 35 million Indians staying outside India, mostly aggregated in US, US, UK, Germany, Canada. So these are the markets where a lot of India and UAE is where a lot of Indians stay. There's been a typical behavior of Indians coming back, and but mostly that visit back home was VFR, that you come here to kind of visit your family and friends. But now what's happening is that they are combining their VFR trips with indulging in sightseeing, going to events, going for sports matches. So people try and ensure that they're coming to India when they can also kind of do watch cricket live or go for a rock concert or kind of go for a destination that's emerged new because India is like and like as you may imagine we're not a small country. We're a very diverse country spread both north to south, west to east.
That might be the understatement of the entire podcast, that India is
Yeah.
not a small country.
And the other large thing that's becoming really big in India from a travel point of view is spiritual tourism. So a lot of Indians living outside India, they want to discover their roots, discover their culture, even Indians within. So a lot of our, I mean, for this entire month of we had we had an event called the Mahakumbh in India.
It's like the largest gathering in the
Yeah,
world,
yeah,
right?
absolutely, absolutely. But just not that. So somehow in that event there was didn't just see travel for Mahakumbh going up. We actually saw religious travel overall. I mean, to multiple destinations going up during that period. So I think Indians are also in this thing of on their spiritual journey and hence pilgrimage and spiritual travel has also become big and has become a big draw from people living outside and coming India for that.
Is that like second generation Indian American, Canadian Americans who are like trying to get back in touch with their roots, or is it people who came over? Like, is there any thoughts there in terms of like what kind of expat is the kind of person is it younger, is it older, is it recent immigrants, more first or second generation?
Yeah. Said very surprisingly, this trend is across. We see very, very young people kind of wanted to go and search India and search themselves. We also see the same happening for second generation families. So I think the spiritual travel trend is quite there and cuts across affluence and age brackets. But then there are Indians who are now more, for example, people who like the second generation Indians. They obviously do not connect with India the same way, like if you've just gone to. So for them, I think coming back and discovering India overall, I mean, going to their place of birth or going to, for example, or checking out the hills of India. No, that's a trend that we are seeing on the up. And then as connectivity is improving, like for example, some years back, if you had to go to like a slightly distant place from Delhi, like Haridwar, it would take you 8, 9 hours. Now the connectivity is so good that maybe in 3 hours you can reach that place. So connectivity is helping us in a big way to ensure that people who are coming from outside, they kind of see the infra as good as Western countries, and the time to travel has gone down dramatically.
That makes a lot of sense. I can imagine that it has a huge role to play in it when you're going home to visit your parents in Delhi. If it's an 8 hour trip, it's not worth it. If it's a 2 hour trip, it makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you do it? And so that's really interesting.
All right, so I think that is a great place to take our break, and we will be right back on the other side with more from Rishi on Bollywood, India, and all things the subcontinent.
Welcome back from our break. Thank you for listening. And we continue to be joined by Rishi of Make My Trip, Chief Marketing Officer, Chief Business Officer, like Sarah said, talking all things India travel. So, Rishi, I want to ask you, I think one of the things you said was one of the big drivers, one of the things was technology too. When we look across Asia, we see these super apps, these like all-encompassing apps. You can do everything, get your takeout, get your travel, whatever you want, all in one app. I'm curious what Make My Trips thought on the super app is and what your approach to this sort of thing has been in terms of bringing in multiple services on one platform. Is it something that you see as interesting, as you want to pursue? Is it like what's your thoughts there?
Absolutely. So, Seth, I think we are evolving ourselves as the super app for travel for every Indian. So what we do right now is that everything that you need to complete your trip, and the obvious ones are flight and hotels, but start like to go to the airport, you need a cab. To go to international, you need insurance, you need forex, you need a visa. You want to book activities while you're going out for vacation. So every offering that you need to complete your trip, we kind of now provide every single one of them, right from hotels, bus, cab, trains, forex insurance. And we also want to service every kind of consumer. For example, we have a very strong business product as well now. So you can book your business travel on the app as well.
So you have a large global based online travel competitor who might refer to that sort of approach as a connected trip, is what I've heard some people call it. Are you going to out connect? Are you going to beat them? You're going to do better than them, or are you doing it? You're already doing it, right?
Like I wouldn't compare ourselves to anyone, but I'll tell you what our approach is. And let me tell you the business logic behind that.
Yeah.
Like I told you that there are around 40 million households in India that travel. In a month, very, very roughly, there are around 10 to 50, or like there are around 20 million people who are searching for travel. They might not travel. Our monthly active users are very similar to that range.
How many
So
people a month are searching for travel? Say that again.
roughly 20 million people
20
in
million per month.
are searching for travel. They might not travel, but they're searching for travel.
Wow.
Our monthly active user base is very close to that number. So what it basically means is that in India, anyone who's searching for travel is also interacting with us. We've been now around for almost 25 years. So over this time, we have a huge understanding on our consumers, right? That what are their travel needs, how do they travel, what do they book generally. It gives us a huge opportunity to ensure that if someone has booked a flight, whether is in his past behavior, does he book a hotel or is he staying with his relatives? What are the other offerings he need? Even from a business strategy point of view, we are very keen to ensure that a person who's booked one thing with us does not need to go out of the ecosystem, and we could kind of get his share of wallet by giving him every offering. So over time, I think we've built a strong enough martech engine that understands what all does a consumer need to complete his trip, and hence trip completion is one of the biggest strategic opportunities that we have.
So it's 2025 and you're an OTA. So I think I'm compelled by law these days to ask you, what's Make My Trip doing in terms of AI and big data?
So we've always kind of, because with the kind of data that we have and the kind of signals that we have, unless we use AI and machine learning, we would never make sense of it. So our approach is our approach has been that we have to hyper personalize. That if Sarah and Seth are searching on the app for the same destination, or for example, if you're searching for Goa, then we understand that basis your past behavior, are you searching what kind of hotel do you want to stay in? And then how do we recommend you the right hotel and also the right content? So we've been using AI and now we are leveraging generative AI to ensure that we are able to hyper personalize both from reading data better and by surfacing the right content better and by contextualizing and summarizing the content because content in travel can be quite large. So we are quite liberal in our usage and experimentation. And secondly, what we continuously do is that we understand friction points in the customer journey as they think and plan and they think, discover, plan and book. And then how can AI help us to reduce those friction points and make it easier for a consumer to maneuver the app or his entire booking flow? Sorry, and the other two large use cases where we are using AI quite liberally is and to good use is that travel also has, I mean, travel is a high involvement purchase. So there's lot of post sale post booking use cases like cancellation or information. So how do we use generative AI to ensure that those use cases you don't need a human touch and you can kind of automate and build self flows via chat and voice. The other two, three large use cases on AI is that like India is a multilingualistic country. So how do you enable voice to text, text to voice? How do you enable multiple languages to surface, yeah, using AI? So that becomes easier. Otherwise, it would take us a lot of time to write that to duplicate content on languages. And finally, on the creative side, that that we can now create like mass creatives personalized to you in your language, in your context. And again, AI has made it possible. So the short answer is that we are trying multiple use cases. We are very keen to solve for consumer friction points using technology.
I think the language one is fascinating, by the way. When I did a report on Make My Trip a couple of years ago, that was one of the big things was that Make My Trip has been so successful because it's embraced the multilingual nature of the Indian market. It's pretty cool. And we did a survey actually, and we found that Indian travelers were among the most likely to use AI, most open. We looked at like five major markets, and Indian users were among the most open to use AI to search for trips. Like, do you think that India will be on the cutting edge in terms of consumer behavior? And are you seeing any shifts in consumer booking behavior? Or do you think we're really seeing Indian travelers book slightly different destinations than they would have because an AI tells them maybe you should consider, it's really close to Switzerland that you might like, maybe Austria. Like, are we seeing that?
No, Seth, I think as you rightly pointed out, I think Indians are very, very experimentative in nature. So they're quite keen to use new technologies and they're quite keen to kind of experiment with new ways of doing the same thing. And also, I mean, why this is important from a travel point of view, that 30% of Indians in a like who are going outbound are either going for the first time or going to that destination for the first time. So we like discovering new places. So yeah, AI will play a role to ensure that new places surface out, like surface up. Uh, you and itinerary building can become easier. So also when you go for a long vacation, supposing you're going to Europe, you're actually planning for a multi-city itinerary. There's a lot of cognitive load on someone's mind saying that, okay, which flight to take, how do I book, like or which city A, B, C, D, E, what should be my pattern be? Now, earlier, a travel agent takes that cognitive load for you. I think AI can easily kind of start playing that role as well in the future. Again, the short answer is yes. I think it's a technology that Indians have already started using. for some use cases. But as it gets more developed, as some of the travel use cases get solved for, we'll see more and more adoption and also behavior changes because of that.
Do Indian travelers will they go to the dupes? Like, let's say that the place that, you know, that was featured in the movie is just, too overcrowded, too expensive. Will they go to the Austrias for the Switzerlands, or is it like, nope, I gotta go visit like exactly where my favorite star sang her big number.
India, fortunately, is so many Indias within that there's clearly a part of India. Which is called the mass of India. I don't see them going for the dupes. They want to do the thing. I mean, they want to
Yeah, the thing.
go
Yep.
go to that church. But there's also, I mean, the other India, which is maybe the again, I like to think about India in numbers. Maybe the top 5 million Indians, they are as evolved travelers as you can think of. I mean,
Yeah.
they would have done the original or the OG 15, 16 years back, and now they are kind of searching for newer things to do, new places to go. Let me
Yeah.
give you one interesting example. There's a country called Kazakhstan. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Pre-COVID, I knew Kazakhstan because of Borat. I
Boy.
mean, this, yeah. So that's how I knew Kazakhstan. Right now, I know Kazakhstan because it's one of the most searched and visited destinations on the Make My Trip app. Uh,
Wow.
so that's how destinations kind of become extremely popular. Someone goes for the first time, he kind of posts something on social, and suddenly it starts getting viral.
Social media, man. It's such a power. I mean, it's kind of like we always talk about it, but then you realize just every once in a while, it's like, I mean, it's a whole revolution in how people move around the world.
Do you do a lot of influencer marketing when you have the top five, I mean it's crazy 5 million, but like the top 5 million that are huge spenders, are you gonna help them get to a place, or like how do you think about influencers?
So like our approach is basically a very, very now nuanced consumer out approach. So what we do, so there are a lot of consumers who kind of organically engage with our app. We have a section on the app called Where to Go. So you don't really need to go to another app or to social media. You can pretty much discover travel on our Where to Go section, and it'll keep on giving you new ideas, new places to go. So we have a like we somehow we're starting to build like a 180 like a 180-degree view on the consumer, saying, okay, there's a consumer who's organically engaging with us. There's a consumer who's going to multiple platforms, and we try and play the strategy consumer out. And if required, we then use influencers on the right channel for some set of consumers.
Got it. And I guess forgive me, Rishi, and I'm sorry, Sarah knows this. I'm like a big travel research nerd and I'm a numbers guy, and I'm so sorry. I apologize for our listeners. I apologize to you. But my team was looking at some numbers. They might have switched because I think we published this like a couple months ago, but it's something on a rough sense. Make My Trip, your marketing spend compared to your gross bookings. I think you guys spend something like 2% of your gross bookings on your actual sales and marketing spend. Your peers, Booking and Expedia, spend closer to 5 or 6%. So I think I could have that wrong, but I think you're substantially less overall. Does that just mean that your marketing is more efficient relative to the bookings you're able to drive? Are you being really smart with how you spend your dollars? And could some of your competitors be overspending on marketing, or do you think you lead the CMO? Do you think you have room to grow your marketing spend and add more into Google or add more into influencers or add more into Bollywood?
Said, like, to be fair, I genuinely don't think that between Booking Expedia and Make My Trip, it's apples for apples. For one big reason that the CPMs in India versus US are very, very different.
That's a good answer.
So US is a very tough, very, very tough CPM market. India will also get there, but right now there is some advantage on CPMs in India. And again, I won't be able to compare versus our competition directly. But I think one of the strong things that we have pivoted very early on is that we've focused on building direct traffic. That people should come to us organically, and we don't have to spend on performance every single time. Again, because we're listed, I can't tell you numbers openly, but like we are over-indexed on organic traffic, which has been a function of of acquiring consumers through our brand story, and then ensuring that they have good experience and high repeat rates, uh, our dependence on performance is quite limited. And and for the last 2, 3 years, we've been trying to form a consumer view. That is, when you spend on marketing, for example, there are multiple types. For example, if simplistically, if I can use a very BCG type of matrix, if you put affluence on one matrix, and if you put loyalty, you'll basically get six chords. There's a uh, high loyal, high affluent chord. It's very precious to you, and we try to retain them through our flagship loyalty program called MMT Black. And on the very other on the diametrical extreme is a low income, low loyalty cohort. Now we would rather not spend there right now, and also have very different tactics for each of these nine buckets. I think that kind of strategy is now paying off for us because we decide where to invest heavily, where not to invest, uh, where to kind of build loyalty, and hence we don't have to invest in marketing every single time. That playbook is now maturing, and we feel more and more confident that we are in the right direction.
So Bollywood's not just fun and games. It's really having that brand marketing, being invested, understanding the consumer, all the AI language stuff you were talking about. It really seriously, and the
Yeah,
loyalty component really seriously pays off.
yeah. Said marketing in today, I tell this every single time to my team and to the outside world as well. That marketing right now is more physics than arts. It's a physics problem. So 70% of marketing is physics. You have to get it right on first principles. And 30% is the art, which is the Bollywood that you sit on top, which is the cherry on the cake in some ways, which makes that your content is more efficient. Uh, but we internally work on those things that let's solve the physics problem first, because maybe the art problem is like we are already good at it.
So, what's your advice for companies out there, for the folks that are listening that work in the travel industry, to attract Indian travelers? What would you tell them if they came to you asking for some guidance?
Sir, I would tell them that leave the Indian travelers to us.
Go away. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think we know them quite well. We feel confident that we have the offerings to service them. So we are best suited to kind of be the app for the Indian traveler.
Enough said. Where's your next holiday? Where are you going next?
Uh, so I'm quite conflicted between like what I really want to do is South America, but that requires a large time investment from India. I don't see my boss giving me that time. Uh,
Mm,
so yeah. So maybe I think somewhere in Eastern Europe.
okay. After our conversation, Seth, last week, I think I want to go to the Indian Himalayas.
The Indian Himalayas are lovely. I mean, and because again they're so large, there's some places which are still not discovered. For example, there's this place called Spiti Valley.
Hmm.
Slightly difficult to get because it's a 2 day road drive, but once you go there, like it can blow your mind off. I mean,
Yeah,
just brilliant.
Uh,
yeah,
Amazing stuff, amazing wildlife and beautiful scenery. I mean, it's such a big, like you said, it's not a small country. There's a lot going on.
yeah.
So really exciting. Well, Rishi, thank you so much for joining us. We will have Rajesh at the Skift India Forum next week. We will ask him on stage to give you those 2 weeks or whatever time you need to get to South America. We'll try and make it happen for you. Oh no, we probably won't be able to ask him that on question, but
No,
we'll put it in the prep notes.
Thank you so much for being here today with us.
no, it was great talking to you, Seth and Sarah.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you for letting us and our audience know about the power of the Indian market. We're excited to dive into it more next week at the Inform. We're going to make my trip back on stage. We're going to have lots of people on stage, and it's going to be a great event. Rishi, it was a total pleasure. It was a total pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we'll see everybody next week. Thank you for listening to the Skift Travel Podcast. Wherever you're listening, please make sure to subscribe. If you like what you're hearing, rate us 5 stars or leave us a positive review. It really helps get the word out about us, our podcast, and make sure that we can still continue to bring it to you free of charge every week.
If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell as well. That way you'll know every time we have a new episode.